of the Minnesota Senate Committee on Agriculture, Veterans, Broadband, and Rural Development for Monday, March 24th, 2025 is now in session. Hey, thanks everybody for being here. It's great to see a full room. We've got lots of fascinating stuff to talk about. We're going to start with the Women in Ag Day presentation. Then the order of bills might switch around, but for now, we're then planning to talk with Senator Mohamed about Senate File 1935, then Senator Frentz, Senate File 1121. Then we will go over some of the budget and policy priorities of the Department of Agriculture. I will present those, but they will be here to actually talk us through them. And then Senator Kunesh will talk to us about some mental health concerns, and then Senator Westrom will talk about reindeer, and then Senator Lang will talk to us about First District and Litchfield and dairy processing. So from that brief description, you can probably tell it's a busy day. So if you are testifying today, or if you are presenting the bill as the responsible senator, kind of ask you to be efficient, if you could, please. That would be helpful for everybody. So that being said, let's get started, and let's honor and learn about women in ag. And before we do that, I do think it's good that we take a moment to celebrate one of the individuals who put this all together. So thanks, Whitney Place, for being awesome. All right, now that we got the love out of the way, let's go to work. If we could have the folks who are testifying, talking about this, could you guys come up? And Ms. Heinrichs, Ms. Donkers, Ms. Anderson, Ms. Westbrook, and Mr. Guerreri. If you could, please come on up. Again, folks, as you probably know how this works, state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members. We have three of us up here, but we have a third farm who is going to come up, so we're just going to trade places in a little bit. So I am Suzanne Henricks. I am from Fort Ripley, Minnesota, halfway in between Little Falls and Brainerd. I'm with the University of Minnesota Extension as an extension educator with the Agricultural Business Management team. Thank you for helping us honor National Women in Agriculture Day as March 21st every year, as well as National Agriculture Day of March 18th each year by having us here. You are well versed in Minnesota agriculture and have had many presentations this year in the depth and breadth of agriculture across Minnesota. Yet we appreciate being invited to bring these ladies in to tell their agricultural story. Each person's situation is unique, and each story is important to tell. And we have 3 of the 35,000 women in agriculture in Minnesota. That's right, there are 35,623 women in farming in Minnesota, according to the most recent Census of Agriculture. Of the 65,000 farms in Minnesota, over half of the farms have a female working on their farm. Over half. Of the 35,000 female producers, 26,000 women farmers are a leader on their farm, highly involved in making day-to-day decisions. That's over 75% of the women working in Minnesota farms who are making decisions and running the farm by themselves or with someone else. In addition, women producers manage over 9 million acres of farmland in Minnesota. That's women farmers making decisions that affect and manage over 9 million acres of farmland in Minnesota. For these reasons and more, University of Minnesota Extension created the Women in Ag Network in 2017. We exist to provide education to all farmers and those involved in agriculture. We have a lot of women who come to our programs, and they bring their farm partners, who many times are men, with them. Our programs are open to everyone. We provide education to farmers on topics of production, legal topics, human resources, financials, record keeping, as well as crop marketing tools. We connect individuals with relevant educational resources and with each other. That's a really important keynote, with each other. Our programs build in ways to connect with each other because we know we learn not only from the person in front of the room, and we also learn from all those with us in the room. We also build ways to interact with each other, such as networking time, turn to your neighbor, have a one-to-one discussion, or in small groups to discuss a topic. We thank Senator Mary Kunesh for contacting the Extension Women in Ag Network last year to initiate the first ever Women in Agriculture Day at the Capitol. Thank you, Senator Kunesh. We appreciate that. And last year we celebrated in a snowstorm. I think we all probably remember that. We were virtual, most of us. We're really excited to be here today. We had almost 100 people register for various parts of our day, so we're really excited to be here with you. We have arranged for 3 farms to tell their story, so let's get started with Gail Donkers. You have 3 farm entities. You'll tell us about them.
Well, thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Chair Putnam and members of the committee. I'm elated to be here celebrating Women in Ag Day at the Capitol today. And I'd like to thank Suzanne and Whitney for putting this all together for us. It's so awesome. So growing up on a dairy and diversified livestock farm spurred my love of agriculture. 4-H and FFA were the cornerstones of my youth. I learned leadership, how to run a meeting, and made friends from all over Minnesota and beyond. I earned trips to the Minnesota State Fair where I exhibited my rabbits, dairy, and sheep. My FFA supervised agricultural experience was my sheep project, and I am still raising sheep today, as many of you know by Senator Putnam showing my sheep around earlier. In 1993, I married the love of my life, Jim Donkers, and joined the PJM partnership. PJM stands for Paul, Jim, and Matt, the 3 founding members or partners. We also have Donkers Dorsets and Big Woods Baby Dolls as our sheep enterprises. Our family raises soybeans, corn, alfalfa, finishes hogs, raises bottle calves to market weight cattle, and we have the Baby Doll and Dorset sheep that we sell breeding stock for literally across the country and into Canada. We have 3 generations farming together, and we are expecting our first grandchild in just a few weeks. Our children, Abby, Riley, and Mitch, along with Mitch's wife, Dayton, are all involved in some aspect of our farming operation. Our livestock are our first priority, the first and last chores of the day. Currently, we are winding up lambing and have about a dozen bottle lambs that are fed 4 times a day on our farm. Our vet retired at the age of 74, and I was very worried. Veterinarians are scarce and hard to find. This is a huge concern for every livestock owner out there and something that we need to address in Minnesota. I have the pleasure of working for Minnesota Farmers Union, a bipartisan grassroots organization. Our special orders of business are passing the Farm Bill and funding these agricultural programs, ensuring affordable and accessible health care, promoting land ownership and access, supporting cooperatives, and ensuring fair markets. One of the main reasons that I work off the farm is to provide health insurance for our family, and I thank MFU for providing me that. As a soybean farmer, I would be remiss for not telling you about the deficit that we are looking at while planting our crops. The net return for an acre is looking at a negative $189 per acre. That does not include any farm payments, nor any management or cost of living expenses. I received this information from my farm business management helper, I'm sure he has a professional term, I can't think of it, but Mark Wade. Just hearing that number makes my stomach clench. This brings me to mental health and the appropriations that help MDA manage the Farm and Rural Helpline, which connects farmers and others with mental health support. And I will be testifying on that as well later on. Shifting back to soybeans, I currently serve as the vice chair on the Minnesota Soybean and Research Promotion Council that manages the soybean checkoff dollars. On behalf of this board, I currently serve on the Minnesota FFA Foundation, the Specialty Soy and Grains Alliance, and the Soy Excellence Center. Minnesota exports more specialty beans than any other state in the United States. That's where SSGA comes in. Last year, my husband and I joined the SSGA on a trade mission to Europe's largest ports to continue to develop new markets. I'm also a proud member of Minnesota Soybean Growers Association, which has been active in this legislative session on issues ranging from tax reform to protecting crop inputs and advocating for sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, tax credit, along with ensuring MDA's programs are fully funded. 2 out of every 3 rows of soybeans in Minnesota are exported. Soybeans are Minnesota's most valuable ag export, accounting for over $2 billion, that's with a B, in sales every year. Trade and market access are essential for our bottom lines. To ensure we're not putting all our eggs in one trade basket, Minnesota Soybean has continued to promote new markets via the Port of Duluth and is working to grow trade relationships for Morocco, Northern Europe, and Uzbekistan through the St. Lawrence Seaway. When we look at corn, the net return this year is looking at a negative $126.66 per acre, and the average input cost per acre of corn is $1,000, over $1,000. That's a lot of money. I'd like to share that the internet and broadband access is very important to rural America to buy our crop inputs, to watch the markets, and to sell commodities at the best time. I also am very selfish and use a lamb cam to watch my sheep when I'm looking for lamb issues or lambing issues, and to just watch cute lambs. Our internet is very spotty at best, and the internet and broadband is a big concern for our farm. Biofuels infrastructure grant is a very important bill or infrastructure program that has been funded at $3 million per year. According to the Department of Commerce, consumers who use unleaded 88 in 2024 paid an average of 18 cents less than consumers who fueled with regular unleaded 87. So it would be very important to get those different pumps put in across the state of Minnesota. And of course, last but not least, sustainable aviation fuel. To develop that market in Minnesota would be beyond our greatest expectations. It would be great for biofuel producers, corn farmers, and several other sectors in Minnesota. Corn-based ethanol is a good fit for SAF production, and the alcohol-to-jet technology pathway, given its affordability, abundance in Minnesota, and existing infrastructure across greater Minnesota communities would be a boon. In order to attract companies to produce SAF in Minnesota, we do need additional funding and the needed tax credit. That's it in a nutshell. I could go on, but I just wanted to share a little bit about my corner of the world and about PJM, Donkers, Dorsets, and Big Woods baby dolls. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Donkers. Ms. Anderson, if you could, please. State your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Anderson, owner-operator of Simple Living Family Farms in Montevideo, Minnesota. Let me just start by saying thank you for having myself and fellow women in ag here to tell you a little bit about our stories. On our farm, we raise crops and livestock for our farm-to-table business. It was about 9 years ago that my husband and I started our business where we sell beef, pork, lamb, chicken, seasonal produce, and other farm products. My husband did not grow up with any livestock, and I grew up on a small hobby farm participating in the local 4-H and FFA. But when we got married, we knew we wanted to raise our own food, and we wanted to share that with others. Without a fence in our yard, we got started. Together, we have a passion for food, agriculture, and education. Our business combines all of these. Being able to teach consumers about their food and how it got to their plates has been an amazing experience for me. Food education is becoming more and more important every day. I actually taught for a few years as the local ag educator at the high school. In that time, it was some of the most rewarding experiences I've had next to being a mother. Unfortunately, when we found out I was pregnant with our third, I had to make the tough decision to resign. Putting 3 kids in full-time daycare to work at the part-time ag program that our school could support would have costed money and still would not have yielded any employee benefits or health insurance for our family. Health insurance, I'm sure most of you know, is one of the most relatable topics in rural Minnesota. Can your self-employed business, agriculture or not, even make enough to pay for your family's health insurance? The majority of farm families have to have at least 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 off-the-farm jobs. This leads to the wonderful balancing act that we all experience, the work-life balance that nobody actually achieves. And for sometimes women in ag, it can feel like a work survival act. Go off the farm to work for health insurance, but if you have young children, you also need to find childcare. In rural areas, childcare is a continuous struggle. Daycare centers are limited, short staff, and can be expensive, but they can't even afford to pay staff more or find more staff. Home daycares are closing. There's just so many regulations that they can't keep up with, and they may need to go to work to get benefits themselves if they have a self-employed spouse. There are families, some of my friends, many people that I know, are actually planning their family lives around these daycare openings. I asked our local daycare about 1.5 years ago when they would have their next infant availability, and she laughed and said, "I can put you on the list, but it'll be a few years." Those are just a couple of the struggles that myself and others face. The daily struggle, however, becomes no guarantees. We all know there's no guarantee in anything in life, but when you're a woman in ag, you feel it on a different level. There's no guarantees in your expense budget. You know, you try really hard. You set your budget at the start of the year, and this is what you're gonna follow. Well, the tractor didn't listen and the tractor broke down. And so now you have to put money into that. Can't farm without a tractor. Maybe you've replaced every single wheel on that hay rake, and it's still not doing its job. Time for a new to you hay rake. If it's July and the flies got really bad, you might go out to your herd and see that half of them have pink eye. You can't just stand there and look at your cows and say, sorry, the vet expense line has been blowing you guys. It'll have to wait till the next fiscal year. So try as you might, the expense budget might get blown. On top of that, there's no guaranteed income. There's no every other Friday, X amount of dollars being deposited into your account. Not only do you not know when that next paycheck is coming, you might not know how much it's gonna be. It could totally depend on things like if it rains, when it rains, how much it rains. If you were out calving when it was 40 below, you might have a loss in calf crop. You might have lower wean weights at sale time. These are all gonna affect things, and a lot of times they're entirely out of our control. So how have we done it as beginning farmers? Honestly, we have partnered so closely with our NRCS program, and it's been amazing. Working through the EQIP grant has helped us with cover cropping, rotational grazing, manure management. We've even put up a high tunnel for vegetable production. We've also become Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certified. We were able to take that grant money and pair it alongside of our EQIP grant for our manure management project. And more recently, we were just awarded the Livestock Investment Grant. These grants have been vital to our success, and in return produces a better product for our local community, and it's better for our earth. We have become better farmers. These grants have made us more regenerative, sustainable farmers. And lastly, to wrap it up, I have had customers look at me and directly ask, why do you do it? I have a 4-year degree in agricultural economics. My husband is a self-employed carpenter. So why are we doing this? We do it for the same reason that we plant trees. We do it for the next generation. Nobody's out there planting an oak tree for themselves. Agriculture is the backbone of America, and if we aren't encouraging and educating to future generations into agriculture, what's gonna happen? Our farm, we are providing a service to the community. We are filling the gaps in the food supply chain. Farming isn't a job or a career, it's a way of life, and it's a way of life that benefits the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson. So up next, we have Ms. Westbrook and Ms. Guerreri. Could you please state your full name for the record, and then I just have to acknowledge that you have a very cool shirt on.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Good afternoon, Chairman Putnam and committee members. My name is Jessica Westbrook. I am a third-generation turkey farmer and current owner of Sunflower Farms, and we just celebrated our first full year in business. We care for about 1 million commercial hen turkeys on 3 farms in the New London-Wilmer area. Over my time in the turkey industry, I've had the pleasure to serve as president of the Minnesota Turkey Growers Association, and I currently hold a position on the National Turkey Federation Board of Directors. In addition to my turkey service, I coach high school girls swimming, enjoy spending time with my 3 children, 2 of which are getting married this year, and often find myself chasing our 3 dogs around the yard. As I mentioned, Sunflower Farms has been in operation for just over a year. In 2023, my husband and I decided to break off from the family farm and try turkey farming on our own. In January 2024, we put our first flock down on the ground. We were fortunate to have an opportunity present itself to us to create SFF, Sunflower Farms. So with my husband's skill set and work ethic, my experience with farm administration and operations, we just needed someone to help keep us organized while we handle the day-to-day while we take care of the birds in the barn. So I hired my best friend, Trista Guerreri, to be SFF's office manager.
Thanks, Jess. Hello, Chairman Putnam and committee members. Thank you for taking the time to hear us today. My name is Trista Guerreri, and at the beginning of the pandemic, my partner and I decided we needed a change of pace, and getting out of a city sounded just like what we needed, and it was. So he swapped out his mailman uniform for coveralls, and I left my corporate job in marketing. We moved on to a turkey farm in the Melrose area where he is a brooder and where we still live. I grew up in St. Cloud, but I'm originally from northern Minnesota, where I come from a family of salt-of-the-earth miners. It was through that grit that I learned the values of hard work, resilience, and connection to the land. This foundation instilled in me a profound respect for those who labor to provide for their families, whether in the mines or on the farms. Because I don't come from a farming background, I was much like your average consumer, uncertain and unbothered by where my food came from or how it was grown. Then I met Jess and have spent the last 19 years absorbing and learning from her, helping out here and there, but mostly just listening to my best friend explain her trade with a passion I've rarely heard replicated. I have a master's degree in English studies, and while on the surface, that might sound like a strange fit, but I've studied almost all of my adult life and have never backed down from a challenge. I have experience with grant writing and have been putting that skill to good use at SFF.
As some of you may know, this state represents every sector of the turkey industry from hatcheries to retail. Minnesota leads the nation in turkey production, contributing $12 billion to its economic activity annually and creating over 46,000 jobs. We are home to the nation's largest turkey hatchery, 3 processing plants, and over 600 turkey farms. Minnesota has a robust animal research program, or many programs, and leads the way in biosecurity, surveillance, and implementation. However, even with all of the extra precautions, turkey farming in general, isn't without its challenges. 2024 presented some major state and nationwide disease issues with avian metapneumovirus and high-path AI, infecting and affecting dairy cattle and chickens along with turkeys. But as farmers, we tend to be eternally optimistic and look for speedy resolution response from our governing agencies and are very grateful for the help we have received thus far for these events.
As we can all agree, agriculture is the backbone of our economies and communities, and women play a crucial role in this field. Empowering women in agriculture is a necessity for sustainable development. When we advocate for policies that support women in agriculture, we advocate for agriculture itself. This includes ensuring that women have access to land, financial services, and education. We need to challenge stereotypes and create an environment where women can thrive as farmers, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Modern farming brings with it many challenges, and those challenges aren't going away. In fact, they're migrating, spreading, and affecting every facet of agricultural commerce. Mr. Chairman and committee members, again, thank you for doing this today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Westbrook and Ms. Guerreri. Members, folks, you got any questions or comments for our Women in Agriculture presentation? Senator Kunesh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for having this today on this very auspicious day. I was really intrigued and impressed over the last couple of years sitting here in the Ag Committee, and I sat on the Ag Committee in the House as well. And always it seemed like when a farmer came up to talk about his farm and his struggles, his wife was sitting back in the audience, or she'd come up and sit next to him and would talk about how she supported, the farm itself. But I think it's really important that we acknowledge and support the women who are in agriculture, whether they have their own farms, whether they are partnered with somebody outside of their family or with their family partner. These are the people that, as I said earlier, have created the generation after generation of agriculture and farmers. When you think about like my ancestors from the Czech Republic that came to this country and landed in Pine City, it was those generations that planted the seed for the next generations of farmers and agriculture in here in Minnesota. And as we've heard, women play so many different roles on the farm and off of the farm. I remember growing up in Sartell, which was then a very agricultural, very farming community, and those wives were the bus drivers during the off season, during the school year. The grandmas and the aunties would come in, and they were the cooks at the schools. And it was always to earn a little bit more money to support their farms and to support their vision. And so it's just been so fascinating to hear about the leadership of women, the innovation that women bring to agriculture, and I'm just really proud that we are making this an annual event, and we continue to hear the most incredible stories of our women in agriculture. So thank you all for those that came here today. There's thousands more out there apparently, but to each and every single one of them, we say thank you very much for feeding our today and feeding our future. Thank you.
Senator Dames, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you folks for being here today. We truly do appreciate it. And I think it's great that we have a Woman in Ag Day at the Capitol, and I hope that it grows every year. It's really important for you folks to come and tell your stories and share them with you, share them with us, with your trials, tribulations, but also the rewards that it gives your families and this and that. So thank you very much for doing this. Thank you for being here, and thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dames. Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't let another Women in Ag Day go by without once again mentioning my mom. My mom, who is now 87 years old, but still tough as nails. And she is one of 8 children who grew up on a farm in Echo, Minnesota, Senator Dames's district. And there were 7 girls and 1 boy. So the girls did the work. They built a barn. There's a picture of my mom and her sisters building their barn. She grew up on a working farm with that kind of a work ethic and passed a lot of that down to me. And, I grew up in a household where my mom was the farmer. So thank you to all the women that showed up. Thank you for all the women who work just as hard as the men, if not harder, on their farms. And I appreciate you, and I see you, and I want to give a shout out to my mom, and because she's an amazing woman. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Seeberger. Members, any other questions? I just want to say thanks for you to being here as well. And one of the things I noticed, especially among the 5 friends who testified today, who shared their stories, there's this really fascinating, consistent theme. I mean, usually every farmer who testifies before us, who visits with us, talks a little bit about their family. But what we saw here, I think, were 5 women who had a very holistic approach to the farming experience. It was about family and community altogether. And it was helpful for us, helpful for me in particular, to see that so clearly in your presentation. So I want to thank everyone who's here to celebrate the day, and this is a celebration. But I also want to thank the individuals who testified, because their perspective was, I think, a very helpful one. And I also want to add that hopefully someday we can do this not in deadlines week, so we can spend a little bit more time hanging out with you guys and hearing a few more stories. But unfortunately, this is a sort of compact time. But thanks again for being here. Members, no other questions? Thank you very much, everybody. Our first bill will be Senator Frentz, Senate File 1121, Agriculture-Related Business Assistance Appropriation. Mr. Ziegler and Mr. Todd, if you would both come up as well, please. Tid, excuse me. Miss Tid, sorry. Senator Frentz, I think this might be your first time in front of our Ag Committee. Is that true?
Mr. Chair, members, maybe this session, but a former proud member of the Agriculture Committee, and appreciate you taking some time to hear the bill.
Senator Frentz, I asked exclusively for hazing. I was quite sure of the degree of teasing in which we could indulge was my main concern, which is why I asked the question, which I'm guessing is pretty high. Mr. Ziegler says go for it. Anyway, Senator Frentz, if you could please to your bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for hearing Senate File 1121. This is the business appropriation grant for green seam. When I first brought this bill to the Senate Agriculture Committee, I think we all know it was 2017, and we were asking the Senate to support an appropriation that leverages about $6 for every dollar we appropriated. Senator Westrom was the chair at that time, and believe me, Mr. Chair, I sat in his office more than once saying why I thought it was a worthy appropriation. Fast forward, members of the delegation who are from southern Minnesota will tell you Green Seam has done some incredible work. It's got 2 basic missions: agriculture branding, Our goal is to make southern Minnesota and northern Iowa the Silicon Valley of agriculture. And then talent recruitment and retention. We want people to come to the Green Seam turf, find work, help us grow, and innovate too. You know, we have our farmers and producers down there, but we're also looking to the future, and I think Green Seam's been a huge success. With me to testify in support of this request for appropriation, Mr. Chair, are Mr. Ziegler, who we already mentioned, and then Robin, is it Tidd?
Tidd, yeah.
Tidd, Robin Tidd here. The appropriation itself, members, is $200,000 each of the next 2 years, and we can talk as much or as little about that, given your budget, as you want. With that, Mr. Chair, I'd ask Ms. Tidd and Mr. Ziegler to testify.
Thank you, Senator Frentz. Mr. Ziegler, if you'll please state your full name for the record, commence your testimony when you're ready.
Sam Ziegler. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members. Good afternoon. I'm the president of Green Seam, and I want to thank you for the invitation to, be before you today, and Senator Frentz. Green Seam is a nonprofit organization to promote our region as a world-class food and agribusiness epicenter. At our core, we focus on economic development, targeting the full agriculture supply chain, which consists of retaining and expanding existing businesses, creating and attracting new, talent development, and creating awareness to establish the brand of the Green Seam region that we have this natural cluster already. Like Silicon Valley nationally, or you can think locally as Destination Medical Center within the state of Minnesota. We currently have guidance, insight, and we get action from over 50 volunteers, from high tech to professional services to educational institutions, including Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation and Minnesota Department of Ag. Assistant Commissioner Bailey serves on our board. All right, let's jump into some of the work we did this past year. With business and community outreach programs, we provided insights and information to 16 different groups, from chambers of commerce to economic development organizations and higher ed. We published just recently here the 6th State of Ag report, which we released on National Ag Day last week, and you can find that report on our website, or I do have a couple copies with if somebody would like one. We've supported entrepreneurs by bringing workshops to their community, partnering with the community and with these entrepreneurs to get the word out, and we're continuing those in 2025. A couple unique gaps that we've had out there is helping employees out when businesses decide to close. There was one business that closed, ag business here in southern Minnesota this last year, and we connected those employees with other businesses that were looking for folks, and they've reported back that they've hired. We're able to support a small growing flower farm in southeast Minnesota, and she directly reported that her production increased by 40% this last year. And specifically with talent development, a lot of work is what programs that align with our businesses here, and work with Minnesota State University Mankato, which they've officially launched the School of Applied Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources, which has been a huge win. Along with that, created a 2+2 agreement with South Central College for an agronomy program. So this last year, we partnered with over 20 communities and organizations and provided specific technical assistance to 26 entrepreneurs. In conclusion, Green Seam is dedicated to ensuring that agriculture will fuel our economic growth in Minnesota, and is committed to developing this region to be known nationally and internationally for the place of talent, business, innovation, education, related to agriculture. With me today, I'm happy to have Robin Tidd, the ag teacher at Mankato Area Public Schools, and we'll let her say a few words in a second. But Green Seam strives to grow our economy, which has a direct return on investment to our region and our state through increase of sales, jobs, and overall economic activity. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to present on behalf of Green Seam today, and your consideration regarding the importance of investment in agriculture and economic development. And if some of you haven't met with me yet and you would like to, I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. Ms. Tidd, if you could please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Putnam and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Robin Tidd, and I'm an agriculture, food, and natural resources teacher for Mankato Area Public Schools and FFA advisor. I've been in this role for the past 4 years, and in that time, I've witnessed firsthand the impact that Green Seam has had on our agriculture program. This year alone, I have served 241 students through our agriculture program. One of Green Seam's main focus areas is talent development, retention, and attraction. They serve as a regional advocate and coordinator, ensuring that our industry and educational programs are aligned. About 6 years ago, Green Seam, along with local businesses, recognized a significant gap that our school district did not offer an agriculture program despite agriculture being a vital program of our community. They stepped in, working alongside local businesses in the school district to reintroduce agriculture education into our school. Green Seam was instrumental in establishing our program. They helped us form our initial advisory board, assisted in finding fundraising opportunities, and connected us with local guest speakers and field trip opportunities. But their support didn't stop there. Even as our program became established, Green Seam remained a crucial partner. Just this past spring, I encountered challenges with our greenhouse. Without me even having to ask, Green Seam reached out to a local greenhouse, arranged a visit, and provided the guidance I needed to fix the issue. Without fixing this issue, we may not have been able to host our spring plant sale. This is just one example of how their support continues to strengthen our program. Simply put, our agriculture program would not be where it is today without Green Seam's advocacy and support. I urge you to continue supporting this essential organization so they can keep fostering connections, strengthening agricultural education, and ensuring that students have opportunities to engage with this vital industry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hitt, for your testimony, but also for being a teacher.
Thank you.
Members, do you have questions or comments for Senator Frentz or his testifiers? Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's the first time I've heard of Green Seam. I see in the article that's out here that its mission is to be the gateway to southern Minnesota. I guess as long as it helps part of Minnesota. But I'm wondering, Senator Frentz, is this part of the governor's budget coming up?
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Anderson. The governor did not make specific proposals for business grant development, and therefore, no, Green Seam was not included. The governor is from Mankato and talks about Green Seam and the successes all the time.
Senator Frentz, just a quick clarification that I'd like to indulge myself in asking this question. What exactly did this committee funded Green Seam last year? Could you remind us about what that
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Anderson. If that was your next question, $200,000 was the total funding for the last business cycle. And just since you brought it up, Mr. Chair, it's not just the money, which is critical. It's that the corporate partners in agriculture who are helping Green Seam be successful ask Mr. Ziegler, Mr. Wilkie, and others, is the state your partner in this venture? Are we getting money? Because when we go to them and say, we want you to help us, they want to know, is the state with us? And Senator Westrom, you're out of the room, but I gave you a compliment for being the first agriculture chair to fund Green Seam back in the day.
Thank you, Senator Frentz. Senator Anderson, I apologize for interrupting you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, the concern is that we're, as a legislature, facing a $6 billion deficit. And I'm just seeing, these opportunities that the governor is going along with. And I hadn't heard that it was part of his plan, so I'm just concerned about going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Anderson. Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And can you tell me, Senator Frentz, what's your footprint, or what is the footprint of Green Seam in southwest Minnesota?
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Dames. The footprint is 21 counties across southern Minnesota and a bit of northern Iowa. It's based in Mankato, in that Greater Mankato Growth, our local chamber, is the host organization, but has just as much success in Rochester, Redwood Falls, and all across southern Minnesota, even though it may be based in Mankato.
Senator Dames.
Thank you, Senator Frentz. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members, are there questions or comments or discussion for Senator Frentz, or is it testifiers? Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering, how'd your basketball team do this year?
Senator Frentz,
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Westrom, for the second year in a row. Proud of Mankato East Cougars to make it to the boys basketball championship game, and although technically they did not win, it was like a championship for us to go with our multiple state football championships. We can talk about that offline, Senator Westrom, if you want.
Senator Frentz, I just have to intervene here for a moment because you are an attorney. You said technically they did not win.
Mr. Chair, maybe he could tell us who did win.
Senator Frentz, would you like to?
Might want to know.
Mr. Chair, Senator Westrom, very proud of the Alexandria Cardinals. My wife was born in Alex, as were her siblings, and even though we couldn't cheer for them that game, we cheer for the Cardinals all season long. And so does Green Seam, which actually has...
Mr. Chair and Senator Frentz, it was a very good game. I think we all are proud of both schools, but it was fun for Alexandria to win it for the first time ever. So,
Who, Senator Westrom, technically did win.
They did technically win, Mr. Chair, I understand. Thank you, Senator Frentz.
Member Senator Frentz, you have a closing statement you'd like to make?
Mr. Chair, thank you. You've had a good discussion. I mean, I want to quote Senator Kupek, who said when Green Seam funding came before this committee in a past hearing, he said Green Seam is a hidden gem supporting the agriculture economy statewide, and we do have a southern Minnesota footprint, but we are affecting agribusiness across the state. I know that your budget is tight, and to Senator Anderson's point, I'd simply ask that you consider not just what it costs, but what it pays at a 6-to-1 ratio of leveraging dollars. We have some upside here, and I have always told you, Mr. Chair, I think our agriculture budget targets are underfunded given the impact of agriculture in the state. So count on my support as your colleague in the Senate to fight for funding for all the different agriculture uses, including this one. And with that, thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Frentz. Senate File 1121 will be held over for possible inclusion. Next up, we're going to mess around with the calendar, schedule a little bit, the agenda. Senator Mohamed, Senate File 1935, Elective Declawing of Cats Prohibition. We have 3 folks testifying, as far as I can tell. Would Mr. Gaskin and Ms. Hamilton please come up and sit at the table with Senator Mohamed? Senator Mohamed, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is good to be in this committee. It's my first time. Before you is Senate File 1935, a bill to ban the practice of cat declawing. We recognize that no one takes this issue lightly, and all stakeholders have approached this conversation in good faith. However, the evidence is clear. Declawing is an unnecessary and harmful procedure that serves no benefits to the cat's health or well-being. Declawing is not a simple nail trim. It is the surgical amputation of a cat's toes. This procedure severs nerves, tendons, and bones, often leading to lifelong pain, nerve damage, and infection, and mobility issues. Declawed cats frequently develop chronic pain, arthritis, and behavioral problems, including increased biting and litter box evidence. Scratching is a natural and essential behavior for cats, serving to stretch their muscles, mark territory, and maintain claw health. Removing their ability to do so causes significant distress and long-term suffering. Some argue for medical exemptions, claiming declawing protects immunocompromised individuals. However, no leading human health organization supports this claim. The Centers for Disease Control, Natural Institute of Health, Infectious Diseases Society of America, and the American Cancer Society all state that declawing is not necessary for human health and instead recommend proper hygiene and regular nail trims and responsible pet ownership as a safer alternatives. Research shows declawed cats are more likely to bite, a far greater infection risk than scratches. Major veterinary organizations, including the Feline Veterinary Medical Association, the Humane Veterinary Medical Association, and the largest U.S. veterinary hospital systems, oppose declawing. This practice is already banned in many U.S. cities, including many states and over 40 countries across the world. Declawing is an outdated, harmful practice with no justified medical or behavioral benefits. Senate File 1935 ensures that cats receive the humane treatment they deserve while keeping both pets and people safer. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Mohamed. Dr. Gaskin, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Chairman Putnam. Dr. Ronald Gaskin. I'm owner and operator of Main Street Veterinary Service in support of SF 1935. I've been a veterinarian for 42 years. I see firsthand the functional damage caused by declawing surgery. Declawing modifies how cats walk and forces them to walk directly on their amputated toes. The resulting pain and redistribution of the weight increases the chance of hip arthritis and lower back pain. When bone fragments are left behind, which is a frequent post-surgery finding, the pain is intensified. Ongoing pain can trigger aggressive behavior, elimination outside of the litter box, and biting. This surgery has been done with the professions failing to recognize its long-term effects. By swearing the AVMA's veterinarian's oath, veterinarians declare that they will prevent and relieve animal suffering. Performing a painful elective procedure that provides no medical benefit to the cat for the convenience of the owner inflicts suffering rather than preventing it, and therefore violates the veterinarian's oath. The Center of Disease Control also does not advocate for declawing of cats, even if they live with immunocompromised owners. The University of Minnesota no longer teaches declaw surgery. Scratching is normal behavior in cats. The new veterinarian has a toolbox of behavioral modification and redirection techniques to prevent unwanted scratching behavior. A cat's claws can be trimmed and or coated with plastic cover as a cat is redirected to suitable scratching surfaces. Educating owners is key. The elective declawing of cats is unnecessary, cruel, and should be banned. Thank you for your time and attention, Chairman Putnam.
Thank you, Dr. Gaskin. Ms. Hamilton, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
My name is Megan Hamilton, and Mr. Chairman and committee members, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm the founder of Basil's Cradle, a 501c3 nonprofit sanctuary for special needs cats. It's based in St. Louis Park. When I was about 18, I got into cat rescue, and I've been rescuing cats for the past 47 years since then. Many of these cats were declawed and then abandoned. I have and continue to witness the damage that amputating cats' toes can cause. I and many other rescues help those that we can, but we can't save them all. And the declawed cats we do save often stay in rescue and are never adopted out due to the behavioral issues and the costs that we work so hard to manage. These cats were discarded and left either on the streets or abandoned in animal control or shelters like they're damaged goods. The majority of them are on lifelong medication to manage the pain they experience or behavior drugs, such as Prozac, to mitigate the resulting unwanted behaviors and psychological damage they suffer. Many veterinarians who still practice declawing justify it by claiming that declawing will keep cats in their homes and they won't be euthanized for unwanted behaviors that they exhibit by scratching. These are normal cat behaviors. Many cats lose their lives in shelters when they are deemed unadoptable due to declaw-related behaviors, such as biting and not using the litter box, and choosing instead to pee on carpets, beds, and furniture, one of the most common things that happens. Amputating cats' toes is a surgery done solely for the convenience of owners. And veterinarians swear an oath to prevent animal suffering, yet they're causing animal suffering by declawing cats, where there's no medical benefit for the cat whatsoever. It's a callous, cruel, and horrible surgery, and I think it's ethically time that we change what's happening in our state. So I'm asking you today to vote yes for SF 1935 and ban declawing in Minnesota. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Our next testifier is Dr. Ames. Dr. Ames, if you could come up, please. Sure. We'll have to make some space for Dr. Ames, if we could, please. Dr. Ames, if you could please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Putnam and committee members. I'm Trevor Ames, a veterinarian representing the Minnesota Veterinary Medical Association, or MVMA. The MVMA certainly supports the intent of this bill regarding elective declawing of cats. but is opposed to it in its current form. The MVMA believes the civil liability portion of this bill is not needed for a number of reasons. The MVMA and numerous veterinary organizations, as previously mentioned, including the American Veterinary Medical Association, have all issued very strongly worded policy statements against elective declawing of cats, which sends a powerful signal to the profession. As mentioned previously, veterinary students are taught about the significant harmful long-term effects of elective declawing and are taught methods of behavioral modification that can be utilized as an option. Very few veterinary practices offer elective declawing as a service currently. The bill correctly points out there are medical conditions affecting cats that could necessitate therapeutic declawing, such as traumatic injuries to the paw. In addition, veterinarians report that owners come to them with medical conditions such as being immunocompromised or having diabetes or having skin conditions that prompts them to seek declawing and allow them to keep their cat and avoid future scratches leading to health issues. Certainly the work of the CDC provides other alternatives for this, but for some owners, this is their solution. For these reasons, the position statements already out there by the profession, the current veterinary education, medical conditions affecting some owners, the MVMA does not believe that the civil penalties are needed and does not support this current wording of the bill.
Dr. Ames, I'm going to start with a question myself. Is it fair then to characterize the MVMA's perspective that the prohibition is not problematic, but the penalties are?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Members, other questions or comments? Seeing none, Senator Mohamed, do you have a closing statement?
Thank you for hearing this bill, Mr. Chair. I think many people across our state have cats, and people love their cats, and they just want to make sure that they get treated. And this is one of those procedures that I think is really harmful, and we can do something about it. So I appreciate you for giving it a hearing.
Thank you, Senator Mohamed. Senate File 1935 will be laid over for possible inclusion. Members and members of the public, the next three bills that we are to discuss are bills that have come to us from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. I am technically carrying them, but I believe that the agency is here to talk us through some of the stuff as well. She's going to talk through the budget. Oh, the budget. Okay. Let me check my sheets. Where said she's talking through the budget? We can have her talk about policy stuff too if you want. I don't know if it's enough. I just have like some notes. I can talk to the meeting either way. I have some notes. Just talk to the policy.
Okay. Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first bill that we're looking at right now is 2610, modifying the beginning farmer program provisions. For efficiency's sake, Mr. Chair, I think I'll just mention a couple of the top line items, and if there are questions about them, we can delve into them deeper. But for now, just some important elements that pop up in this bill. One, it would allow the Commissioner of Agriculture to delegate fertilizer regulation and management duties to cities of the first class, cities with more than 100,000 inhabitants. It strikes the 2014 deadline to adopt rules on the certification of regulatory compliance, expands the definition of beginning farmer for the purposes of the beginning farmer tax credit to include single-member LLCs owned by one individual, retains the same beginning farmer requirements that apply to both individuals and LLCs. Members, there are a number of other provisions in here, many of which you are likely already familiar. I think it might be more efficient to talk about the issues that are most concerning or interesting to you rather than for me to go through them line by line. So, Mr. Chair, that's Senate File 2610.
Okay, so just answering questions from the department. Anyone want to go that way? Okay, so members, questions. Senator Anderson. There, sure. Do you want to do the A2 amendment, or excuse me, A1 amendment now, or do you want to wait until after questions, or what would you prefer to do?
Mr. Chair, we can do that now. That seems efficient.
Okay.
I would like to move the A1 amendment, if I may, please.
Okay. Senator Putnam moves the A1 amendment. All in favor of the A1 amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The A1 amendment is adopted. Now, any further questions? Once, twice? Okay. Then, with that, we will lay over Senate File 2610 unless you have a closing comment. Okay. Onward and upward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Senate File 2611, very similar. This bill makes a number of changes to the Livestock Market Agency and Dealer Licensing Act, the Minnesota Department of Agriculture's Food Inspection Enforcement Authority, and the membership of the Board of Animal Health. Just again, a couple sort of quick top-line issues. Adds a definition of meatpacking company agent under the Livestock Market Agency and Dealer Licensing chapter. Makes some technical conforming changes. Strikes citation to session law that established the Livestock Market Agency. Removes the availability of a hearing when a license loses their dealer license. Modifies the requirement for Livestock Market Agency and Dealer Licensing Act hearings on bonds that reimburse the seller if the buyer does not make a payment, including requiring the MDA to make an initial determination of the validity of the claim and notifying the licensee to pay the claim. Again, more sort of technical conforming changes throughout the bill. One last thing that I suspect is probably of interest to members of the committee is it modifies the Board of Animal Health to include 11 members, with 1 member who is a member of a federally recognized tribe located in Minnesota and 8 regional members. Requires members to be knowledgeable in animal agriculture, animal health, or pets and companion animals. Requires 2 members who are not employed in the agriculture, veterinary medicine, pet industry, or other related field to represent the public. Requires the Commissioners of Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Health, the Dean of the College of Veterinary Medicine, and the Director of the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory on the University of Minnesota to serve as consultants to the board, and requires the Governor to appoint a non-board member veterinarian to the board's executive director. This section would be effective July 1st, 2026. And again, members, just some other technical changes that are in there as well, and we can discuss any of the ones that perk your interest.
And you do have an A2 amendment on this. Would you like to take care of that right now?
Yes, please, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the A2 amendment.
Okay, Senator Putnam moves the A2 amendment. All in favor of the A2 amendment? Signify by saying aye. You're good. Opposed? The A2 is adopted. Members, any discussion on the underlying bill? This is Senate File 2611, yes.
I have an A1 amendment. I don't know, is that different than the A2?
Yeah, the A1 was for Senate File 2610, and we're not doing an A1 on this one, just the A2 on 2611.
I didn't have the A2 amendment.
You'll check with. Any questions then on the Senate File 2611 as amended? Seeing none, we will lay, unless you have some closing comments, we'll lay Senate File 2611 over for possible inclusion. Okay, now you have Senate File 2458.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for putting on us the next bill and for the enthusiasm with which you talked about it. Sounded a little bit like a tornado was on its way or something. Mr. Chair and members, the Senate File 2458 is the budget bill for the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. We've asked Ms. Painter to walk us through it. At the conclusion of that, or Mr. Olafson, we'll talk through some of the big items. And then Commissioner Peterson would like to make a few comments when that's done.
Sure. Do you want to take care of the A1 amendment first, or do you want to have the council walk through?
I think it's a pretty good idea if we took care of the amendment first, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Would you like to move said amendment? A1.
I would like to move the A1 amendment.
Okay. Senator Putnam moves the A1 amendment. Senator Anderson does not look like he has the A1 amendment. We do. It is magically appeared. Any comments on the A1 amendment? Questions? If not, all in favor of the A1 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The A1 amendment is adopted. Okay, Mr. Olson, would you like to do a walkthrough?
Thank you, Senator Chair Kupek, members of the committee. In your packets, you should have a short change item spreadsheet titled Agriculture, Broadband, and Rural Development 2025 Governor's Revised Budget Recommendations - change items. So this reflects the revised recommendations that were released last Friday. So column A shows the different change items. Column B shows the fund. Column C shows the type of appropriation. But we'll primarily just focus on the numbers from columns D, which is fiscal year 2025, through J, so that's through the tails, which is fiscal year 29. So beginning with the Department of Agriculture on line 8 within the Protection Services Division, the governor recommends $420,000 from the general fund in fiscal year 26, and then $923,000 ongoing, so for a total of approximately 1.3 million in 26-27, and approximately 1.846 million in the tails. On line 9, the governor recommends a reduction to the green fertilizer grant program of $3 million from the general fund for savings of $3 million in fiscal year 25. On line 10, the governor recommends changes for PFAS language alignment. This has no general fund direct impact. On line 11, this is a revised recommendation from last Friday. There's a reduction to the soil health financial assistance grants from the general fund of $320,000 each fiscal year, so a reduction of $640,000 in the 26-27 biennium, and a savings of $640,000 in the 28-29 biennium. On line 12, you see the move to the Protection Services Division of the Climate Coordinator position. This is also a new recommendation from the governor. So this moves from administration and financial assistance, the appropriation, so it's $150,000 each fiscal year for this Climate Coordinator position, for a total of $300,000 in 26-27 and $300,000 from the general fund in 28-29. But I'll point out a corresponding reduction of the identical amounts in the Administration and Financial Assistance Division. For Ag Marketing and Development Division at the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, there's no additional spending from the general fund, but there are changes to programs within Agri primarily. So on line 15, it's pointed out that there's an expansion to the Livestock Investment Grant within the Agri. On line 16 for Agri, the administrative allowance is increased from 6.5% to 7.5%. On line 17, for the Biofuels Infrastructure Grant Program within Agri, the maximum number of eligible dispensing sites is increased from 10 sites to 20 sites. On line 18, for the Urban Agriculture Program within Agri, it's eligibility is expanded to include agriculture-based trainings, employment programs, and urban ag processing. On line 19 for Agri, the Good Food Access Program is updated, and the name will change to the Food Retail Improvement and Development Program. On line 20, there's a technical fix for the extension of the fiscal year 25 appropriations, just to make sure they're available. The full Agri FY25 appropriation has extended availability, so there will be a technical fix there. That's a revised recommendation from the governor. Moving on down to the Admin and Financial Assistance Division within MDA. On line 23, this is new spending from the general fund. There's an operating adjustment of $137,000 from the general fund in FY26, and then $204,000 ongoing beginning in FY27, for a total of $341,000 from the general fund in 26-27, and $408,000 from the general fund in 28-29. On lines 24 and 25, these changes have no direct impact on the general fund to MDA, but there are updates to the Rural Finance Authority and the Agriculture Best Management Practices, or AgBMP, program updates. On line 26, this is a new recommendation from last Friday. There's a new $4 million transfer to the Ag Emergency Account. The governor recommends $4 million from the general fund in FY26 to the Ag Emergency Account. That's a one-time transfer. On line 27, here's the corresponding reduction for the climate coordinator position of $150,000 each fiscal year for the move to protection services. So for the total general fund impact on line 28 for the Department of Ag, there's savings of $3 million in FY25, and then additional spending of $5,044,000 in 26-27, and $1.614 million in 28-29 from the general fund. Moving on down to the Board of Animal Health, on line 32, the governor recommends an operating adjustment of $367,000 for the 26-27 biennium, and $492,000 from the general fund in the 28-29 biennium. Moving to page 2 of the spreadsheet, we go to AURI. The governor also has an operating adjustment from the general fund of a total of $136,000 for the 26-27 biennium and $182,000 in the 28-29 biennium. The governor has no new recommendations for the Deeds Office of Broadband Development. So moving on down to the total, line 51, the total general fund appropriation impact, the total general fund impact to those under the ag jurisdiction. It's the savings of $3 million in FY25, and then new spending from the general fund of $5.547 million in the 26-27, and $2.288 million in 28-29. And then briefly touching on non-general fund impacts, these have expenditures and new corresponding new revenues. So on line 57 for the seed tonnage reporting frequency reduction, there's no direct impact to the ag fund. On line 58 for the grain license fee update, they're expecting additional spending from the ag fund and additional revenue of $900,000 in 26-27 and $900,000 in 28-29. On line 59 for the seed potato certification statute modernization, it's reduced spending of $80,000 from the ag fund in 26-27 and reduced spending of $80,000 in 28-29 with corresponding reduced revenues as well. On line 60 for the milk marketing modernization, additional spending from the ag fund of $10,000 in 26-27 and $10,000 in 28-29 with again corresponding additional revenue. And then on line 61 for the food licensing modernization, additional spending from the ag fund of $5.065 million in 26-27 and $5.14 million in 28-29 with corresponding revenues that you can see on line 68. And with that, that concludes my walkthrough of the spreadsheet. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Members, do we have any questions for Mr. Olson on the financial side at the moment before Ms. Painter walks through the policy side? Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Olson, no changes at the Board of Animal Health, is that correct?
Mr. Olson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Westrom, on line 32 of the spreadsheet, the governor recommends an operating adjustment for the Board of Animal Health of an additional $367,000 in 26-27 and $492,000 from the general fund in 28-29. So there is an operating adjustment for them.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, Ms. Painter, you are up.
Mr. Chair, members, I'll just take you through a quick high-level view of Article 2, which is the statutory changes in the bill. Section 1 changes the name of the Good Food Access Program to the Food Retail Improvement and Development Program, modifies definitions, specifies that projects must serve underserved communities, modifies the report to the legislature, and makes some conforming changes. Section 2 makes conforming and technical changes related to the changes in Section 1. Section 3 modifies the purpose of the Agriculture Best Management Practices Loan Program to support landowners. Section 4 raises the maximum statutory amount the Public Facilities Authority can appropriate from the Clean Water Revolving Fund for the Agriculture Best Management Practices Loan Program. Section 5 modifies the allowable amount for a grant award to equal 50% of the first $20,000 of qualifying expenditures and 20% of the next $200,000 of qualifying expenditures, and allows a project to continue for up to 3 years. I believe that's the livestock investment grants. Section 6 amends the definition of livestock to include more species of animals. Section 7 amends eligibility to include tribal governments. Section 8 clarifies language relating to family relationships in the definition of eligible farmer for the Farm Down Payment Assistant Grant Program. Section 9 amends the PFAS prohibition, so the subdivision no longer applies to cleaning products as defined in Chapter 18B and would instead apply to a list of products in Chapter 116. Sections 10 to 36 in the bill relate to modifications to seed potato provisions in Chapter 21. I don't intend to go through those in detail. Sections 37 to 50 amend Chapter 28A relating to licensing food handlers. Again, I won't go through each section in detail. Section 51 adds a new subdivision to the dairy law definitions to define the term milk marketer. Section 52 adds a new section requiring a license for any milk marketer and specifying terms, fees, penalties, and license and permit requirements for licensees. Section 53 amends the beginning farmer loans to state that no loan may be less than $50,000. Section 54 amends the loan restructuring program to state that loans may not be less than $50,000. Section 55 amends the seller-sponsored program to state that loans may not be less than $50,000. Section 56 amends the agriculture improvement loan program to state that loans may not be less than $50,000. Section 57 amends the livestock expansion and modernization loan program to state that loans may not be less than $50,000. Section 58 amends the eligibility for the disaster recovery loan program to require that a borrower's total net worth be less than $5 million. Section 59 modifies the pilot agricultural microloan program so it is no longer a pilot program, and so that loans may be used for purchasing agricultural land. Section 60 modifies the farm opportunity loan program to reduce the purposes of the loans. Section 61 amends the eligibility for the Farm Opportunity Loan Program to require that a borrower's total net worth be less than $1.7 million and to allow that amount to be adjusted in line with inflation. Section 62 modifies inspection fees for grain buyers. Section 63 modifies grain storage fees. And Section 64 repeals statutes and rules relating to seed potatoes.
Members, any questions from Ms. Painter? Senator Daines.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I don't know who wants to answer this, but the grain license fee went up considerably. Can you tell me what the base was and what it's going to?
Good afternoon. You can identify yourself for the record and answer Senator Dame's question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my name is Nick Milnowski. I am the section manager for the Fruit, Vegetable, and Grain Program with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. Senator Dames, it was Senator Dames, right? Yeah, sorry, Senator Dames. Our revenue last year for the grain program was roughly $570,000. This bill will increase that revenue up to just over $1 million. Or sorry, yes.
Follow up, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Senator Dames.
Can you give me kind of a breakdown per, like say if an elevator has a grain fee, it was X number of dollars, what the base is, or so I got some idea? I realize the net, or the net gain to the department, I realize that, but I was just wondering what it is kind of on an impact on a case-by-case situation.
Sure. Mr. Malinowski.
Mr. Chair and Senator Dames, that's a very difficult question to answer, but I would be happy to do my best. So as the language stands today, there is a charge both for the license, which scales up based on how much capacity you have or grain buying you're doing. And then the exam fee also scales up based on how much business you're doing. We simplified the fee structure in this proposal with a flat $500 fee for grain buying, a flat $300 fee for grain storage, and then the exam fee scales up based on your capacity. We tried to tie a straight line to what is the most costly portion of the program to execute, which is the inspection portion. We have 4 full-time staff right now that are devoted to traveling around the state looking at these facilities every single day, and it leads to the largest costs that we incur to execute the program.
Thank you.
And Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, section 30 or 61 on line 76.20. It's a max a net worth of 1.7 million, but it's tied back to 2017. What's the significance of that, or why is it not 2025? If Ms. Painter, does that make sense? What I'm asking.
Mr. Chair and Senator Westrom, I understand the question. I don't know why that year was chosen.
I think we have somebody, though, who may know the answer to that.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members. My name is Matt McDevitt, work for the Rural Finance Authority of MDA. We tied that back to some other bond-funded programs we have, just to be consistent. That seemed like a number that we've been using for kind of the farmers that we feel it's effective, and then we don't have tons of different net worths floating around out there, that when we make the change, we can make the changes easier administratively year to year.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, so the net effect of that is the net worth would be higher than 1.7 million. Why don't we change the net worth of 1.7 million to a higher number to reflect the value today? Or 2017 had a lot of years of inflation in between. What would that number be today then, just if you know?
Mr. McDevitt.
Mr. Chair, members, I believe that number today is 2.135 million. I could be a little bit off, but that's about where it is. So we take the CPI of the previous year into account at the beginning of every February and adjust our net worth for our loan programs.
So, Mr. Chair, is that how it would be done then for an applicant, or would they have to figure out their net worth and then calculate it backwards to 2017? How does that work for
Mr. McDevitt?
Mr. Chair, members, when we make that adjustment, we post that number out there, and then when they provide us a net worth statement, we just compare it. So if they're under for, in this case, if somebody were applied today, as long as their net worth's under 2.135 million, they qualify.
Okay, so I got it. Thanks.
Okay. We do have 2 people who'd like to testify on this bill, but first, Commissioner Peterson, would you like to go first or?
First is fine.
Last, okay. You may identify yourself We all know who you are, but just for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tom Peterson, Commissioner for the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. And I just want to be on record, obviously supporting our bill and asking for your consideration. I think the staff for the walkthrough and just highlighting in the last couple of years, we feel like we've gotten pretty strong budgets with the department, and we're putting a lot of those programs to work, as you've heard through that. And so we did make the difficult decision to cut the green fertilizer program, which is we're in the process of rolling out. The RFP just closed on that. And then also the soil health equipment grants to reduce that. There are money for the soil health equipment grants and some other pots of money, whether that's the Clean Water Fund, or we also have a grant we're working through, a CPRG grant, it's called, through the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, which will bring money into that program too as well. We do appreciate that the governor recognized and put in the operating adjustment for the board and the Department of Agriculture, and also for the ag emergency account. I think that's something that we've talked about, and putting money into that. You may have seen today that we did have announced our first dairy cow. And so working through that, we have, with your support, we've had the resources to address that and to be out front on it, both with the board and the department. I just mentioned a couple other pieces in there. Well, I'll just mention on the grain discussion we had too. It's really hard when we're looking at raising fees for some people, and some people would raise it, some people would lower it. But I think those are the discussions we have to have. That program, it hasn't been updated, I forget, for like 30 years. And that fee structure and everything, and that program is dipping into our general fund. So when that program is not performing or not bringing in dollars, we have to take money out of another part of the agency to catch that up. And so as a department in our budget bill, we feel it's important to bring that forward. So I look forward to working with you all on this, as we have in my 6 years as commissioner, and passing a healthy bipartisan bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Peterson. And I think I'd like to bring up the two testifiers first, and then we'll go to more questions. So can I have Dan Sparks come up, and then be followed by Laura Lemke.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Dan Sparks, the Director of Government Industry Relations at AURI. Appreciate the opportunity just to have a few brief comments here before the committee today. First of all, I want to thank Chair Putnam for bringing forward Senate File 2458. It's obviously a very important bill. You just heard from the commissioner that we have a wonderful working relationship with at AURI, with him and his entire staff, and so we're very appreciative of that. We also would like to thank Chair Putnam for including us. We had a cost of living increase that we asked for during this legislative session. The governor did recommend not the full amount, but we certainly are in there. We understand the challenges that you face. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I would just like to thank, again, Senator Putnam, all the members of this committee for your past and continued support of AURI. As this bill continues to make its way through the legislative process, we're here to support you 100%. Hopefully get it to conference committee, and at the end of the day, the governor's desk, that we can all pass a bill that we're very proud of that supports agriculture in the state of Minnesota. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Sparks. Ms. Lemke, you'd like to state your name for the record, and you can begin your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Laura Lemke. I'm the Executive Director for the Minnesota Grain and Feed Association. We are a 118-year-old nonprofit voluntary membership organization that represents the interests of the state's grain and feed mill industries. I'm here today to testify in opposition to the grain licensing and inspection fee increases proposed in Senate File 2458. As I stated in my written testimony, this license and inspection fee increase will cost most state grain buyers and storage facilities between 40% and 250% more for their license. This is not a small bump to license fees. This is a huge increase. I have small independent elevator members who will see their license and inspection fees jump $2,000 or more in a single year, and larger cooperative elevator members who will see their fees increase from $17,000 or $18,000 to over $40,000. For an industry that already operates on slim margins, this is a substantial increase that we are being asked to absorb. And the reality is that with these higher license fees, that cost will ultimately be passed along to producers. In the past, grain buyers and warehouses have chosen to be state licensed facilities because it was cheaper than becoming federally licensed. If this license fee goes through, the opposite will be true, and I will not be shy in encouraging my members to explore becoming federally licensed warehouses, which will reduce income for the department. As you know, MDA's grain program is operating at a loss and needs to find a way to cover the shortfall. However, they've been knowingly operating in a deficit for 4 of the last 5 years. I've spoken with the department, and while I understand the logic behind the reluctance to raise license and inspection fees with the ongoing changes that have been made to the grain buyer's statute in recent years, the fees haven't been raised in 20 years. Now MDA is at a critical point. General funds are no longer an option to cover their shortfall. Instead, the grain industry is expected to shoulder the department's delayed decisions at an astronomical cost to their businesses. When I testified in front of this committee a few weeks ago on a separate bill, I stated that the grain industry is simply looking for some regulatory stability. This license fee increase does not grant us stability. Instead, it will raise our cost of doing business at a time when grain markets are facing a lot of uncertainty and the cost of everything is going up, from insurance premiums to wages for our workforce. I am asking this committee to find another way, whether that be to reduce the proposed cost of license fees and inspections within this bill, or to allow for an increase in the time between inspections, say from 1 per year to maybe 1 every 18 months to 2 years. The fees as presented in this bill are simply unsustainable for our industry. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, questions? Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Lemke, to become a federally licensed grain operator, what's the process?
Ms. Lemke.
That's something I'm not super familiar with. However, give me a second, I'll find you what you need. Federally licensed warehouses pay a license action fee of $90. They pay a service license fee of $40, an inspection fee that ranges from $19 for each 10,000 bushels, $19 for each 10,000 bushels with a minimum of $190 and a maximum of $1,900. That's still considerably less than what the state is proposing. Then they have annual user fees, and it depends on whether you are approved with a CCC storage agreement or not. The rates are different, and they have a scale for that. I have one facility that is currently a state licensed buyer and warehouse. His license this last year cost him around $14,000 plus. Under the new plan would cost him almost $40,000. And for them to go federally licensed, their first year is going to run them a little over 20 grand, and the succeeding year, taking out the initial year costs, it's going to run them 18 plus. It's cheaper for them to be federally licensed.
Thank you.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, following up on that, Ms. Lemke, why would an elevator not be federally licensed, or what's the significance of being state versus federally licensed? And is this maybe a backdoor way of unloading some work at the Department of Agriculture, and maybe we should encourage everybody to go federally licensed, or why do they choose one over the other right now?
Ms. Lemke.
Chairman and Senator Westrom, my understanding is that in the past there had been a push for cooperative elevators to be pushed towards being federally licensed. It is a more involved process as far as the application goes. Feds come out, they do measure-ups every year. It has been more expensive than to be a state licensed warehouse up until this proposal. Under this proposal, it'll actually be cheaper in some situations to go federally licensed than be state licensed.
Senator Westrom.
And Mr. Chair, Ms. Lemke, with some of the recent changes that we're proposing, and it hasn't gone through yet, with the audits on different size, more small and medium-sized grain buyers, how much relief are they looking at under that proposal if it goes through, and how much of that would be offset here? Have you done any sort of analysis, or maybe Commissioner Peterson, maybe they've done some evaluation of that as they've looked at this? Because some of that's going to be relief of audit expense with those changes that are going through. Is there some leveling out with those two issues, or can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Ms. Lemke.
Chair and Senator Westrom, I'm going to guess that Nick's probably going to be have a little more information on that than me, because I am not privy to all of the costs. However, smaller grain buyers, they will see some relief by not having to have CPA reviewed or audited financials. The changes that went through that the governor did sign last week will provide relief to them that they can use a local CPA or a independent CPA or an independent accountant. They will save some money there. Again, the smaller guys in this situation, with these changes to the grain license fees, will probably see some relief. Again, I think Nick's got the numbers on that. But this is going to hit the big guys really hard.
Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Westrom. Ms. Lemke is correct. The audited financials being reduced for several of our license holders down to reviews, and for many of our facilities being reduced from reviews down to a compilation or some other text prepared statement, will reduce the cost significantly. For 130 of our entities, we saw the change go from a review down to a compilation or similar statement. That'll be a reduction in cost from somewhere around $10,000 for the review down to something along the lines of $2,000, $2,500, maybe even less in some cases. We will then have the 30 or so entities that move from an audited financial statement down to review. We've heard that those audited financial statements are around $25,000 down to $7,500. So pretty significant reduction in the financial reporting costs for roughly 160 of our licensed entities. And I do want to revisit Senator Dame's question. We do have some numbers that I failed to mention. 33 of our 304 licensed entities will see a reduction in licensing costs under this proposal. 2/3 or 200 entities will see a increase in fees of less than $1,000 under this proposal.
Members, other questions? Okay, seeing none. Senator Putnam, any last closing thoughts, or we're just?
No, I'm good, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the conversation and the questions that were asked.
Okay, with that, Senate File 2458, as amended, is laid over for possible inclusion.
Next is Senator Kunesh, Senate File 2809. Mr. Peterson, Ms. Donkers, if you could come up, please, and have a seat.
Is it a race?
I just walked. Senator Kunesh, to your bill when you're ready.
Good afternoon. This is a bill that continues a past appropriation to support MDA's work to promote farm safety and rural mental health. I think we've heard for the last couple of years the struggle in greater Minnesota, specifically around agriculture, with the stressors of weather, of finance, of paying licenses, of bird flu, all of these things that are affecting the mental health of our agricultural people, and recognize that we really do have a responsibility towards supporting that. So we are asking for $100,000 in 2026 and $100,000 in 2027. This is not part of the governor's budget, but it's been part of MDA's budget in the past years. And we have a number of members testifiers that would probably like to speak to this bill.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Mr. Peterson, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Hunter Peterson with Minnesota Farm Bureau. Appreciate the chance to share our support for Senate File 2809, and appreciate Senator Kunesh bringing the bill forward. You know, it's a tough time to be in agriculture, but just in general, we know that farmers have higher rates of mental illness than the general population. Moreover, you know, agriculture is a dangerous industry as far as things like, you know, equipment and machinery accidents, grain bin accidents, livestock-related injuries. And so just want to underscore how important this funding is for combating those things and taking care of our farmers. And, you know, as far as Farm Bureau, because I think, you know, this funding is great, but I think everyone has a part to play in this conversation. And so us as Farm Bureau, you know, we certainly strive to elevate safety and health in agricultural and rural communities. Our county Farm Bureaus participate in and host activities like farm and home safety forums for youth and adults, and farmer and community wellness events on topics like mental health and substance abuse. And at our Leadership, Education, Advocacy, and Promotion Conference, our LEAP conference, this past January, we hosted an education workshop on managing farm stress and recognizing the signs of mental health struggles. So again, want to underscore Farm Bureau support for this important funding. And thank you for hearing the bill, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Ms. Donkers, if you could please state your full name for the record again, if you would, please, and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Putnam and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Gail Donkers. I'm a farmer in Faribault, Minnesota, where my family raises soybeans, corn, alfalfa, finishes hogs, cattle to full-weight cattle, and baby doll and Dorset sheep that we sell for breeding stock. On behalf of myself and Minnesota Farmers Union, I'm glad to share our strongest support for continuing our state's investment in farm and rural mental health and safety. This investment also leverages federal funds, which allows MDA to be a national leader in helping farmer families and others manage stress, prioritize their mental health, and stay safe on the farm. In part, this appropriation helps MDA manage the Farm and Rural Helpline, which connects farmers and others with mental health support. Farming can be a stressful job, as we've all said. You're often working alone, you're dealing with huge amounts of money and tight margins, and at the end of the day, there's a lot you don't have control, such as weather, input costs, or a trade war, just to name a few. When the stress reaches a certain point, it's really important that there's a resource out there that's easy to access. I can say from personal experience because I've accessed those resources personally. In November of 2019, I had the opportunity to attend the Safe Talk 4-hour face-to-face workshop that was sponsored by MDA. The Safe Talk workshop, that's a mouthful, teaches how to prevent suicide by recognizing signs, engaging someone, and connecting them with the intervention resource for further support. The training was completely full, and there was a waiting list for attendees to join in. I am grateful for this training and have used it multiple times. I have a farmer mental health resources page on my cell phone that I can readily access and have shared with others more times than I care to count. I've also reached out directly to Monica McConkey to learn how to help a family member that was dealing with depression. Monica and I had a deep discussion. She helped me organize a step-by-step intervention and to get my family member the help that they so desperately needed. On Sunday, I had a very deep discussion with a Minnesota Farmers Union member that is a brand new dad. He shared that his wife had gone through some postpartum depression and deep anxiety and the strain that it put on their family and their farm. I felt well equipped in my training to listen and assist this farmer. Additionally, Minnesota Farmers Union is working with several of our counties to host several COMET trainings across the state. COMET stands for Changing Our Mental and Emotional Trajectory. This is a 2-hour interactive training that teaches participants how to reach out in a respectful and supportive way to friends, coworkers, customers, or acquaintances that seem to be struggling somewhere between the lines of wellness and mental health crisis. I'd also like to say MDA's work in mental health arena has done a lot to destigmatize talking about mental health. There was a time when I wouldn't have been able to or wanted to talk about mental health issues due to the stigma that surround the mental health. But in part through the trainings and outreach from MDA, I've come to know we're all better off when we can share these things. Finally, I'll add that this appropriation also supports related work on farm safety. Farming can be a dangerous occupation, as we've discussed. Farming is listed as the third most dangerous occupation in the United States. And there's a lot we can do to educate farmers about how to keep themselves, their families, and their employees safe on the job. I'm proud to represent Minnesota Farmers Union on the Farm Safety Working Group, which does really important work to connect groups and state agencies around these topics. Thank you, Senator Kunesh, for bringing this bill forward and to the committee for your consideration and continued support in funding this project.
Thank you, Ms. Donkers. Members, questions, comments for the author or the testifiers? Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, Senator Kunesh, did we have this same type bill in the last biennium?
Senator Kunesh?
I believe we have. I'm afraid I grabbed my wrong folder, so I don't have that information in front of me, but maybe we can get some help from our researchers.
Mr. Olofsson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Anderson, yes, this was included in Chapter 43 in the 2023 Ag Omnibus Bill, and it did receive one-time funding of $100,000 in fiscal year 24 and $100,000 in fiscal year 25.
So, Mr. Chair.
Senator Anderson.
Mr. Olofsson, did that money all get used up in the last biennium?
Mr. Olofsson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Anderson, I don't know off the top of my head. If anyone from MDA knows, thanks.
Please state your full name for the record and answer the question if you could, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, my name is Paul Huguenin. I'm the Director of the Ag Marketing and Development Division at the Department of Agriculture. And yes, we are on track to use up all of that money. We've actually stopped taking applications for the green bin portion of that and just wrapping up the last few cost share for the ROPS rebates.
Thank you, Mr. Huguenin. Senator Anderson.
Thank you. Senator Kunesh, do you have a House file number?
Senator Kunesh.
Again, I don't have the bill in front of me, unfortunately. Let's see here. Yeah. I do not know, but.
Thanks to Ms. Painter, Senator Anderson, it's House File 1702.
Say that again, please.
House File 1702.
1702. Thank you. The reason I'm asking is that I see that any unencumbered balance now, I'm just wondering if this language was included in the last biennium. It says does not cancel at the end of the fiscal year 2026. So I don't know if we had that language in the last bill or not. So.
From what I understand, this is identical language from the past bill.
Okay, thank you.
Members of the questions or comments? Thank you. Seeing none, Senator Kunesh, do you have a closing statement?
Just, you know, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here when I say that we need to be able to invest in our farms and with farm safety and mental health. It not only assists the farm families that have access to this, but also the communities that they represent and, of course, across Minnesota. So I hope that you would consider this, allocation and we can continue the good work.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Senate Files 2809 will be laid over for possible inclusion. Next up, Senator Westrom. Let's talk reindeer. Senate File 739, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Westrom, to your bill, please.
To steal Senator Kupik's commentary in the past, this is no reindeer games. And little humor, one of you got it, but tough committee today. I was part of that on the other side when you guys were presenting. So, Mr. Chair, members, here to talk a little bit about zoo issue in my district. I think you've all heard it before. It was similar language that we passed last year. I have a testifier that'll join us by Zoom shortly. But this proposal, and Mr. Chair, once I'm done talking, I'll talk to the amendment. If the amended language, just so members know, this bill would mirror the language that we worked out last year that went out of the Senate Ag Committee and was in the Senate Omnibus Finance Bill, made it off the Senate floor, allowing discretionary authority to the state veterinary through the Board of Animal Health in the situation in my constituents district, or my district and my constituent situation with the Hemker Zoo in Freeport, which is the only private zoo we have in the state of Minnesota. A very lovely place if you haven't had a chance. And Mr. Chair, you and I had a great time last summer going around the zoo, and so I know you can share your observations as well. But our members, this would deal with a unique situation to try to bring in more genetic diversity for reindeer, which is one of the displays of the animals that they care and are proud of at the Hemker Zoo, as well as their contribution to our state and just the general genetic diversity and the need for that in keeping their zoo healthy and having a long-term opportunity to stay in business. And there's a lot of cooperation that goes on behind the scenes between a lot of zoos that I've found out. And so, Mr. Chair, this language is fairly straightforward, simple. As I said, we've passed it, but it would allow the state veterinary the discretion to allow reindeer to be imported in a Cervidae. But Cervidae or reindeer are a certain subsect of that Cervidae class, and they'd have to be under a USDA herd certification program or else something similar surveillance program as determined at the discretion of the state veterinary. So, Mr. Chair, that's the language that we have again, and I'd like to have Ms. Hemger offer her commentary and need for a reason for the legislation that we'd like you to consider and ultimately pass, but I understand today would be laying out over.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Westrom. Ms. Hammaker, before you start your testimony, I think we should take care of the amendment, if we could do that really quickly, please. So Senator Westrom moves the A1 amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks for letting us take care of that, Ms. Hammaker. It's great to see you again. If you could, please state your full name for the record and tell us a little bit about your zoo.
Hi, I am Joan Hemker. Good afternoon, Chair, Senator Putnam, and committee members. I am Joan Hemker, the co-owner and founder of Hemker Park and Zoo. I am writing to express my strong support for Minnesota Senate File 739. For over 35 years, Hemker Park and Zoo has been committed to the care, conservation, and sustainable management of reindeer, prioritizing their well-being while providing educational opportunities for the public. At Hemker Park and Zoo, we adhere to the highest standards in animal care, including best practices in husbandry, veterinary care, and conservation efforts. Our reindeer management practices are grounded in responsible and thoughtful approaches, ensuring their health, safety, and welfare. The passage of Minnesota Senate File 739 is critical for us to continue these efforts without unnecessary restrictions that could negatively affect the animals and our broader conservation programs. Our plea is not to bring white-tailed deer into Minnesota, but rather to continue our work with reindeer, preserve their genetic diversity, and continue working with the Minnesota Board of Animal Health, which oversees the management and state regulations of reindeer in Minnesota. Under current Minnesota law, AZA accredited facilities are permitted to import and manage Cervidae. We work in close collaboration with other AZA accredited institutions to ensure their highest standards of care. Hemker Park and Zoo is home to over 48 animals from 26 different AZA accredited institutions, and our facility undergoes rigorous inspections by these institutions to ensure that our husbandry practices, veterinary services exhibit quality, safety protocols, meet or exceeds the highest standards. One of our co-owners is an active member of the AZA. The proposed amendments in Minnesota Senate File 739 aim to preserve genetic diversity while maintaining the current regulatory framework. These changes will enable the continued responsible management of reindeer, promote their welfare, and support essential educational and conservation programs. I respectfully urge your support for the Minnesota Senate File 739 and thank the Chair, Senator Westrom, and committee members for hearing me today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hemker. Members, questions, comments for the author or his testifier? Seeing none. Senator Westrom, do you have any closing statement?
Mr. Chair, I do not. I think I've said it all. Thank you.
Senate File 739, as amended, will be laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you, Senator Westrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Our last order of business for the day, Senator Lang, appropriation amendment for Litchfield wastewater industrial pretreatment facility. Mr. Huffman, if you would please, feel free to come up to the desk with him. And Senator Lang, to your bill when you are ready.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the nature of the late hour, and 4 minutes is on the clock. I think I could probably do it. I don't know about Mr. Huffman. We'll have to see what he has to say. But first of all, thank you for letting me get this transferred from capital investment over to the Ag Committee where it belonged. Senate members and Mr. Chair, before you this afternoon, I have Senate File 1299, and this is a bill that would appropriate money to the Department of Agriculture for a grant for the First District Association, which is Minnesota's largest cheese plant that receives milk every day. And when I say this is a state asset, I think that's a little bit of an understatement. So just to bring that all around, we're talking about 600 dairy farmers in 45 different counties throughout the state. This is the one. This is our milk producing plant, or excuse me, milk processing plant in the state of Minnesota. This is the important one. I appreciate the efforts of yourself, Mr. Chair, the Commissioner of Agriculture, and actually many other interested members that we have looked for a way to fund this project from various sources and various avenues. But now here we sit here today with the more or less the initial point. And just to give you a little better understanding of what the project actually is and how it relates to both the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the regulatory environment that we're facing, as well as the processing capability and certainly the amount of milk that can be processed through the plant. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll shut my mouth and let Mr. Hoffman talk.
Mr. Hoffman, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and the members. My name is Bob Huffman. I'm the President and CEO of First District. I'd like to thank Senator Lang for bringing this forward. It's extremely important for us. I'd also like to thank Mr. Becker to the right of Senator Lang, him and his family, dairy in Grove City, Minnesota, and in behind me, Ms. Kristen Duden, who was a part of the group earlier, also dairies up in the Princeton area, and they're very important leaders in our cooperative in a state and at a national level as well. So we're a dairy cooperative. We're 104 years old. As Senator Lang mentioned, we're close to 600 members across 45 counties, and we make roughly 800,000 pounds of cheese out of 8 million pounds of milk a day that's coming through our facility that our members send to Litchfield. It's in Litchfield, but it really represents the entire state. We have been in partnership with the city of Litchfield for decades, going back multiple decades, where our wastewater from the plant is discharged to the city, and we've worked with the city as a full discharge on wastewater. However, we've got ourselves into an issue with not only a capacity, but more of the capacity of processing the solids. And as the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has tightened up restrictions, We've gotten to ourselves to where about a year ago, we was looking at getting shut down. We were able to negotiate a schedule of compliance with PCA to prevent that. However, there's a timeline that goes with that we have to meet, or we're in jeopardy of the site closing down, which will put those 600 families roughly out of business. The plant cannot just be turned down a little. It'll have to be reduced to about half speed to make it work, and that'll be tough. So it'll be detrimental to do that. Because of that timeline, we had to go ahead and move forward with a project, over $50 million to put in a digester that will be able to handle or create renewable energies, and that will support us in the city of Litchfield. However, First District will own the equipment, and it'll be on the city's land to make that work. Unfortunately, we could not wait, or we were at a position to shut that down. The issue is we've leveraged and financed ourselves to a point where we cannot quite cover all of it, and we're just a hair over 10 million short to complete that project, and we've asked for support, as all you guys have known, to close that. So that's the gist of the issue where we're at. The project is on track to be completed. However, we're coming up against a time frame where we're gonna run into some serious issues that will result in a plant problem if we can't make up that gap. So just asking for any support that's possible. I know we know funds are tight, but again, we appreciate all the help and support, and Senator Lang's help to get support to get this through. And again, we're appreciative for any support that you guys can provide.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't also acknowledge Representative Erdahl and his tremendous labor on this behalf. He was over here all the time getting me to yell at other people, and I think that's why we were so successful last session getting this into the bonding bill. And also just a question of personal privilege. Mr. Hoffman, is it true that you're responsible for Doritos? And if so, I both thank and curse you.
So yes, it is true. Whether you eat nacho cheese Doritos in Tokyo and St. Paul or LA, the cheese powder on those Dorito chips, the bulk of that came from Litchfield, Minnesota, out of our dairy farms across the state of Minnesota, as well as infant formula across the global front as well.
Thank you for that, I think. Members, questions or comments, hopefully that are more substantive than mine?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Westrom.
Just looking at the hour, wondering if there's any samples of that product you're talking about.
Mr. Chair, I do my best to arrange anything.
For future reference, especially Senator Lang, this is the 4th or 5th time you've been here. Ag is all about snacks.
Mr. Chair, I probably do an evening meal of one sort or another, and you could probably drink out of some cardboard water bottles that we're working on too. So,
Members, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Senate File 1299 will, I'm sorry, Senator Lang, do you have a closing statement?
no, Mr. Chair, I just, again, appreciate the time, of course, and, this has kind of been an all-hands-on-deck effort, and I truly appreciate both the bipartisan, bicameral effort on this. This is one we kind of just have to get done, so thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senate File 1299 will be later for possible inclusion. Members, I do have a schedule update that you're probably going to want to attend to because it's complicated.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks for being here, guys. We will not be having a meeting or a hearing for the Veterans Subcommittee this Wednesday after all. Instead, Friday will be a longer day than we'd anticipated. So it's going to be a split committee on Friday. The first half of the day will be a walkthrough of the Vets bill. And then we will pause for a moment and then do a markup of the Vets bill and pass it to the full Agriculture Committee. The second half of the day will be a walkthrough of the Agriculture bill that will include opportunities for testimony. Do you have any questions or curiosities about that schedule? Senator Anderson?
And what time are you expecting to meet on Friday?
We're going to begin at 10:30, and that's all I can promise. I'm hoping it won't take us for forever.
Thanks a lot.
Senator Westrom?
So, Mr. Chair, what is on this Wednesday's schedule, if anything, and Friday's walkthrough is just that, no amendments, no testimony? What do you expect on the ag side of?
Sure, on the ag side of it, Senator Westrom, and for full disclosure, the reason why we aren't meeting on Wednesday, so the quick answer is Wednesday is free time. because we won't be meeting at all on Wednesday. And that's because, in all candor, we don't have targets yet to put together our final math. So we do need a couple extra days to finish up our work on the bill. So Friday will be simply the walkthrough component of ag, and then we come back the subsequent Wednesday. That's when we'll do our markup and pass it through.
Okay. And Mr. Chair, when would you expect testimony? That'd be on Wednesday the following week as well?
I think testimony on ag provisions will be on this Friday, as we do the walkthrough, excuse me.
Okay. On the provisions as we walk through, sure. Any amendments, any comment, testimony would be
the subsequent Wednesday.
Subsequent Wednesday.
When we pass it through this committee in the regular time period. Is that clear? But again, I apologize for its complication, but we're trying to get things done as timely as we can.
And Mr. Chair, do we have an update on targets? Do we know when they might be out?
So I'm expecting them very soon. That's the best that I can do. I apologize for not being able to be more clear. It's because I don't know, frankly. But I would expect that they have to be very soon because we have to get our work done. So
Mr. Chair, this week in meeting very soon?
Oh, they'd have to be. We won't. They've got to be. Okay. Senator Anderson?
Could you define very soon?
Very soon is kind of like when we get done on Friday. Let's just cross our fingers and hope. All right, we all good? So members, seeing no further business before the committee, thanks a lot. See you guys Friday. We are adjourned.